So, hello everyone. My name is S.J. Reynolds. My pronouns are they/them, and I am a fourth year from Eastern Connecticut State University, majoring in new media studies and theater with concentrations in design tech management and performance media.
And my name is Jess Bertrand. I am a recent graduate from the University of Waterloo with a bachelor's in theater and performance, and I'm from Canada.
And to start how two students from entirely different nations ended up working on a project together, Jess, would you mind explaining how we met?
Yeah, of course. So SJ and I met in 2019 at an international theater exhibition called Prague Quadrennial, and we ended up working on the same virtual reality exhibit, and we became fast friends, and a year later, we reconnected in June 2020, and at this point, the pandemic had already started, and we were feeling very nostalgic that only a year ago we were traveling and in the beautiful sunshine of another country in Czech Republic, and how the world has changed since then. We both felt this uncertainty in our place within the arts, and we were really asking ourselves, like, do other artists feel this hesitancy and this worried feeling about their future in the arts during the pandemic since theaters were closed? So we started this project called Returning to Blank, to answer this question, because we were both feeling really isolated from the theater community. So we created a mixed media performance project, and we wanted to explore the emotional states of emerging artists through the period of 2020 and onwards. And we plan to submit our project to World Stage Design in Calgary 2022.
To begin, this project involved a survey, interviews, and various media platforms, which all influenced each other as we created said project, as well as my personal thesis project, which I had been working on for around a year and a half at that point, which was originally a new media studies virtual reality project focused around a new media opera. But as the pandemic hit, I decided to shift focus to this project because it seemed a lot more relevant. So what I found is there's been a lot of material artistically in the world that has been made to comment on current events, which maintain a standard of the audience having a passive relationship with the content presented to them, in that they don't get to actively interact with the people creating it and or presenting it to them. In this project, my partner and I had an opportunity for more people to participate in the creation process, while also seeing how other people feel about different topics, which is part of the main reason why we made it. Part of this is that we didn't want to pin any of our personal perceptions or outlooks in place of those interacting with the material, while also attempting to cultivate a space where participants could express themselves. Some topics that came up included the pandemic, social movements around the globe, gut health, government and academic bodies are carrying on under the restraints of the pandemic or otherwise, and how emerging artists as a whole are beginning to think about themselves in the context of the pandemic and what it means to be an artist at this time period. And once again, we wanted to make sure the participants could choose how they responded and what they did to do so. Moving on from that to theory and theorist, some of the theorists that I interact with are here. So Judith Butler's critical analysis of the idea of we the people, and how by saying what something is, you are also saying what it's not. And there's also Jose Munoz' belief in the queer potentiality, and that by claiming something is queer and or something is something, you are limiting what it can be, therefore, in essence, kind of making it not queer at all, or at least limiting how queer it can be. I also touched upon Jack Halberstam's low theory and the definition of art and meaning, because especially in times like this, we are beginning to reevaluate what art means to us, how it's presented, and how we translate it. And I also touch upon Greg Geisingham's approach to space and the setting of new media performance. As Ira already touched upon, there are many communities that have already been using virtual platforms in order to communicate and interact with each other. But before the pandemic, we were finding that the general population didn't see the value in these spaces. But inside and post-pandemic, I feel that we have come to appreciate it and are exploring what we can do on virtual and media platforms. Now some terms. In summary, the observer/user is the one who is watching/interacting with the material, or the subject. The subject is can be a population or demographic, topic, material, etc., that is interacted with by or observed by the observer or user. Most likely, this is a passive interaction, especially in cases with something like television, where the subject could be literally a television show. Or it can be active, when the subject and the observer get to interact with each other and influence how they operate within the space. A passive or active experience is just that. It's what happens during a performance, a collaboration where audience observers interact with material that's presented by the creators and performers in order to create an interaction in the product. Encompassing all of this on a broader scale is the space. So this can include the experience, observers, and subject. Anything that is involved in itself, the people, the elements, context, time, space, location, you name it, that's the space. And finally, representation, which is the process of processing and presenting material to someone else after assimilating it into your own system of reference. So as it says, representation. Now, part of this is adaptation, and we decided to use a survey in order to interact with our participants. Creating the survey, we went through 4 versions before it was sent out, each one going through a review process where we look for ways to make the wording and questions a bit more effective / user-friendly. This was also a way for us to provide its own space for open-ended answers and to further interact with these people that we wouldn't have had a chance to otherwise. You can see a version of the survey up on our website, which we'll mention again later. You can take it if you're interested. Now, some of the results we got. Point 1, most of our participants are pretty young, ages 22 to 24, even though we had participants who were older or younger. Most were working towards their bachelor's or undergraduate degrees. However, there were some who were working towards graduates and or were part of work or training programs. Up next, the majority of our participants are from Canada and the United States, but we also have a few from other countries such as Singapore, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Finland. Of these participants, the majority have been working on digital media, theater, and thesis research, but there are several other topics and concentrations included under that, such as social media, sound work, hand art, that sort of a variety of things. And despite this, to our relief, I think in part, all of them were very hopeful about the future. I don't think there was a single one who didn't have some sort of striving goal going forwards. And I think, Jess, do you want to talk about that?
Yes. So from the beginning of this experience, we were kind of expecting people to be much more negative. As you see in the news, there's lots of negative things happening in the world throughout this past year. So we expected that to be reflected. And of course, there were times where people were very expressive in just a lot of politics or other things that were very specific to them. But we found that that was not fully the case through this survey. We wanted to create a responsive survey. So what we ended up doing is a lot of our questions, we had an other category where people could put in their own answer. So for this question, we asked, how do people feel about the current arts industry and its future prospects? And we have so many different answers here because we had initially a set of core values that we were feeling at the time and a lot of the things that other people were added. So we really wanted the participants to be able to interact with other people's responses. So we would add them as new options were presented, and then we would continually have people interacting with other people's answers. And we told the participants that this was happening, so everyone is in the loop. And what we found, so I'm just going to go to the next slide, is that surveys were not enough. It was a lot of work between SJ and I, and we found that we needed another perspective. What we wanted a human link rather than just curating survey content, because people actually speaking about their experiences is very empowering. And we found that the interviews also supported a variety of major recurring themes that cropped up within the surveys. So we split these themes in 2 categories: industry production expectations and systems. We collected quotes from the survey and clips from the interviews on each topic, and we decided to curate them into a digital experience. And these are the themes within systems. So what we ended up doing is we took a lot of these very sometimes heavy themes, things that a lot of people had a lot of things to say on, and we are creating a Twine experience. Twine is a platform that uses HTML coding, which is open source, and it allows you to create many choose your own adventure narratives. So all of these pages that you're seeing, this is a story map of our current version of Twine. And you can see all the lines that are going to different pages are hyperlinked to each other to create a website. And this is what it looks like outside of the code. So right now we're in a prototyping phase, and we're discovering new ways to present content beyond a pragmatic design, because right now you can see YouTube videos, we have quotes that are involved within the platform, but we want to make the pages more expressive, the website. Along with creating a platform to tell our story, we created a website domain to host the platform and to give a public access point for our project. We recently went through a project rebrand, so everything looks shiny and new with more space attached, and you will be able to see our survey and see other information within our website. We wanted really to create a place of connection for emerging artists, a place to host the survey, and a place to eventually host our final project of Twine. And as a complement to the project, we created an Instagram page. We really wanted to be able to document our project growth as we went along, to be able to interact with other artists, other emerging and young creators, and also be able to showcase some of the quotes that we have had from participants in our survey. So you can see what people have thought as we went along. And we found that the title Returning to Blank was really integral to understanding our project, because a lot of the questions that we hold about the future, about the pandemic, about the arts industry are unknown. There's a huge question mark. So we came up with Returning to Blank because we just simply don't know. And it may not be normal, it may not be change, it may be something completely different. And we were allowing people to really define what that blank is for themselves.
And closing up, this is our handle if anyone wants to follow us on that.
We really enjoyed sharing our project with you, and we look forward to seeing more presentations throughout this conference. And we hope you have a lovely day. If you have any questions, please let us know.
And thank you so much.